Today's presentation is in regards to service learning at the Lindbergh Academy. As you all know, service learning is required as a component of the Lindbergh Academy. Some of you may be new to service, or some of you have had very few experiences in performing service learning, and that's what we're going to try to accomplish today. And we're going to look at two main thoughts. One, what is the difference between community service and service learning? And two, how can I incorporate service learning into my classroom? Now, this presentation was originally developed for teachers to incorporate service either within their classes, or service to be incorporated to within their school. But I think this presentation still works for us because the same ideas that a teacher may want to incorporate are the same ideas that students can incorporate into their projects, whether it's related to school activities or on the campus of school in any way. So today I want to look at service learning, and we look at a couple things. We're going to look at these main points in our presentation. First, community service versus service learning. What is the difference? Two, we're going to look at some examples of true service and what makes a project an actual service learning project. Three, we're going to look at how service can be implemented here at the Lindbergh Academy and how it has been implemented at the Lindbergh Academy. Fourth, we're going to look at some examples of some past Academy students and things they've done to meet their service component and their service requirement. At the end, we'll have a sharing of thoughts and ideas through a brainstorming idea that will be working on small groups, working on partners, working on individually with your instructor. They'll be providing that information at the end of this presentation. And then finally, there'll be a time specifically set aside for you if you have any questions or anything that you may need to be answered from your specific teacher. The first thing we're going to talk about is community service. What is community service? In a survey of students done just over 2 years ago, the most common answers about service learning were donating a service or activities to benefit a community or organization, strengthening civic pride or local growth wherever the individuals may live. When we think about community service, in many instances, it's often required by schools or youth groups they participate in, or even in some aspects, and sometimes the courts are requiring these community service hours. And finally, a lot of people think of community service as doing something and not getting paid. All four of these things can be accurate, can be true, and there's nothing wrong with either of these four things. We just want to look at a couple of examples now of community service. If I were to ask you to give me an example or give some examples of community service projects, many would have the same type of ideas. Canned food drives, picking up trash in parks or on roadsides, raking the neighbors' leaves, or shoveling the snow out of their driveway on snow days, or just babysitting some kids in the neighborhood. All of these things are tremendous. All of these things are great ideas. All of these things students may do and should be applauded for, should be very proud of their activities in completing this. However, these are not examples of service learning. When we talk about service learning, we want to look at things that are being learned within the classroom to problem solve within the community. And what we mean by that is taking something you've learned in school, having an idea of what you've learned in school, and learning from that through service, through helping others. We also want to actively contribute to the community through services that are performed. So not just be a one-time shot, we go out, we do this, and we're done, but something that you can maintain and sustain through future requirements and through future semesters. Remember, we have an 8-hour service requirement every semester. In an ideal situation, you do a project and you continue that project throughout the year, in compared to do a project and then 9 weeks later do completely something new. That's okay too. But a really good service project can be something you maintain and sustain by contributing to the community on an ongoing basis. Also, in service learning, students are engaged in civic responsibilities. And what we mean by that is being an active member of the community, going out and helping others and helping the community grow through your actions. All three of these things, we have one simple way that we try to tie this all together in relation to service learning, and that is where we tie together the curriculum and the service. And when we talk about the curriculum, we're talking about a couple things. Curriculum, of course, are things that we learned in school. But what are the types of things that you've learned in school? Well, first, there's our academic curriculum, which things you may have learned in a social studies or a science or a math or an English or an art or a health class you can tie within your service. But also, our secondary curriculum is our character curriculum. As we all know, the character curriculum is very important, not only to us here at the Lindbergh Academy, but within the entire Lindbergh School District. The uh, the importance of character within the classroom is tremendous. Of course, when we talk about here at Lindbergh, a lot of times our character curriculum is built upon our 6 pillars here at the high school. Um, through our character words that we try to abide by on a monthly basis. And that curriculum, it can be equally important as anything that we learn we have academically based. But things we take from this curriculum can also be applied in our service and can also create very good service learning projects. When we talk about true service learning, we're looking at a couple of different things. One is identifying the community and the need within the community. We're going to talk about the word community in just a little bit. In many aspects, the word community can be very, very specific about a specific group of people, or it can be very broad, a much larger group. In many instances, I think the word community scares people because they think they have to go out and help a great deal of individuals in a very, very specific way. And we're going to talk about what we mean by community in just here in a little bit. The next thing we need to do for true service is determine how community will be impacted. What do we do through our actions to help people in our community? Again, determine what that community is first, but what can we do to help? The third part of a true service learning project is actually going out and performing the service. I think most people in this instance, this is what people think of when they think of community service, going out and doing the action. And finally, and probably most importantly, is where we need to analyze and reflect upon our results. What did we do in our project? Who did we help within our project? And finally, what did we learn within our project? I think what we're going to see in many instances is things that we've learned from our project we weren't anticipating learning, or things that we thought were going to happen within our project ended up not happening or continuing to grow in a completely different direction than we had realized. Again, all part of the learning experience of service. What does true service look like? Well, a couple examples, some really good examples of things that we can do for community service. The first would be cleaning a local pond area, a very good activity for any individual or any group to participate in, a very good community service activity. How could we take that action and turn it into a service learning project? Well, we could take samples of the water sources. We could take those water sources back to our classroom or our environmental club or our place of study, and then we can present the findings to neighborhood residents or local political groups or people who have a common interest in keeping the park clean or the pond clean, making sure that the levels of pollution are low and or the safety of the water is very high. Things that we take within the classroom, things that we've learned how to do within our school, and then taking that to our active community involvement. Another example would be donating money to cancer research. Very important activity, donating money to cancer research. Cancer research foundations survive by donation of individuals. As a service learning project, however, we can take it a step further. We can organize a cancer awareness day at school where students can promote the awareness. Sure, they can donate the money, but they could also share their personal experiences, family members, friends, anybody that they know that maybe have been affected by cancer and how that has affected their lives individually. In this particular project, the amount of dollars being raised or donated is not the most important thing. It's not about the amount of money that we have or the amount of money that we're able to give, but more so the amount of awareness, the amount of eyes and ears that we're able to listen to the importance of having an awareness of cancer research. Here at the Academy, many of you still may have this question, but we talk about true service learning. And I've heard this before. How do I do a service project? Your parents may ask you the same question. Tell me about this service project. What do I have to do? Well, I like to answer that question in 3 ways, in, in 3 steps. The first step is our planning. What are we going to do? Who are we going to help? What do we hope is our outcome? Then we have to go out and do the action. We have to go out and perform the service. And then the third part is the reflection piece. So for a service learning project here at the Lindbergh Academy, we have to plan it, we have to do it, and we have to reflect upon it. And if we can do those 3 things, meet those 3 criteria in an acceptable, proficient manner, we'll all complete a very nice service learning project. We're first going to talk about how do we plan a service learning project. Well, the first thing we have to do is identify a community. And again, when we talk about community, we can talk about a number of different ways or variances of our community. Our first community could be our school here at the Lindbergh Academy, here at Lindbergh High School, here at the Lindbergh School District. We all live in a local community, whether it's Sunset Hills or Crestwood, or the city of St. Louis, or places that we have a particular interest in that we live at. We also have a state community, a national community, of course, we have a global community, and things that we could do that can benefit the entire world. Again, if we perform a project that has a global community, that doesn't mean it's going to be any more work or any less work than a school community. The size of our community should not have any impact on the amount of effort or the amount of ability that we have to complete a service learning project. The second thing we want to do is identify the needs that the project will meet. Why are we doing this project? What are we hoping to accomplish? In some aspects, we're going to see that what we accomplish is going to be quite different, but we have to have some direction on which way we're going to head. We're going to do that by stating specific goals of this project. What are we going to do during our project, and what are we hoping to accomplish? When we determine what is accomplished, we're going to see what will we do to be successful. What do we need to accomplish in order for our project to be successful? And again, what we think is important, what we think we're going to be able to accomplish might not be what end up is be getting done for us. We might have to go in a completely different direction and even in a better direction. But at the end, we're clearly going to identify the school or the social learning objective that will be met. What did we learn in school? What did we take from the classroom? And how did we apply that to our service learning project? And when we can do that, that is what makes service a true experience. The service experience, again, is where we go out and actually perform the service. This is what most of us think is community service. We have to understand what service is being performed and how to be able to adapt and adjust as necessary. Again, we might have a plan that you think, but the organization, the community that you're helping may have different ideas. It's very important that we document our experiences through action. This can be done in a variety of ways, depending on our project. A simple way to document our experience is to keep a running log. What did you do to get this project going? What did you do to maintain this project? And who did you help and how did you help them throughout this project? And that can be done for your own personal experiences through your own personal log. Some of you may choose to write journal entries on a specific day. This is what I did for my project. This is what I got accomplished this day. This is what we're hoping to do the next day. And we move on from there. In some instances, you may be volunteering for organizations that already have these type of procedures set up in place for us to accomplish some work. In this instance, the people that supervise you may have letterhead, may have a log that they keep for you, and then they can just give you that letter or that documentation to submit as part of your service experience, as part of your service project. Finally, as I said earlier, I consider the most important piece of our service learning project is our reflection piece. Why do we do a reflection? It's to have a better understanding of our community need. After you're done with your service, after you've helped your organization, after you've aided your community, do we understand why it's important for our community to have projects like this? Why is it important for our community to get volunteers? Why is it important for our community to build strong ties with schools, with local leaders to improve our community? Our reflection is also very important that we are able to share our experiences with others. Many think of sharing our experiences as bragging about what we've done. In this instance, I refer to a reflection piece as not only just sharing or bragging with others, but also a great way to get other people involved. If they see what we are doing, if they see what you are doing, it may open up the eyes of others to get them involved as well. We want to share the findings with others. What did we learn? Through your experiences, through your 8-hour per semester experience, what did you learn about the needs that your community has, or what did you learn about yourself and how you can help your community through projects? We want to promote the service. Again, not to pat ourselves on the back and brag about what we did, but promote the service to get others involved and maintain and sustain a project that continue to help others. Again, ideally, we can find a great project that we start and we continue throughout the school year instead of changing projects back and forth, which is okay, but sometimes can create more work for us. And again, the ultimate sign of a successful project are to get others involved. You may start a project. True showing of a successful project is when we can get others involved. You may start your project with 1 or 2 people the first semester, but in semesters 2, 3, and 4, your group may expand to 4, 5, and 6 people, and that's an excellent way for your project to grow and help your community even further.